congratulations to the mayor and all involved. With the committee's permission, I would like to take item 15 out of order. It appears to me that about half the people in the room are here for Blight Lien Ad Hoc Committee update. Do we need a motion, or would you? Thank you. Thank you everyone for their flexibility. I had estimated the time this would start and I was off. Sorry. We were solving problems, so it's good that.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. We're here to provide an update on the Blight Lien Ad Hoc Committee. As you know, we were last here in June to discuss our blight lien process and opportunities for improvement in the process, as well as in possible collections of those liens. This subcommittee recommended and the mayor appointed a ad hoc blight committee. The Councilwoman Gallego co-chaired it along with Mark Manoyle, who's a real estate attorney who also co-chaired. So I want to thank you both for your leadership on that very effective ad hoc committee. Additionally, I'd like to thank, I think we have another 5 members of the ad hoc committee in attendance here today. I'd like them to raise their hand to be recognized. They were very efficient in the work that they did. So we are here today to provide a summary of the recommendations and efforts of those recommendations that came out of the ad hoc committee. So here with me today, I have Tim Bowling, who's our deputy director over our code compliance efforts, and he did the yeoman's work in producing the presentations and leading this. And so I'm going to ask him to do the same here for you today. Tim?
Thank you, Chris. Direct your attention to the PowerPoint. The committee was charged with really 3 things. Standard application of abated properties and on how we enforce those. And I did want to mention the enforcement staff, Patrick Ravenstein and Gary New, are here today. They do an outstanding job on about 2,000 abatements each year. Then we also wanted the committee to look at appropriate outreach and communication when we have a blighted property that we're working on with abatement. How are we communicating to the neighbors and others that the property is in process and that we're working on it? And then third, examine and make recommendations regarding the funds that we have. We put a lien on the property, a blight lien on the property after we've abated it, and quite frankly, we're losing a lot of those monies to foreclosure on tax liens. What the committee met 3 times, and it were very effective meetings, and we provided information, and they kind of got right to the work at hand. The first recommendation was to modify the neighborhood preservation ordinance is in respect to the board up standards. Right now, we board up properties, all openings with 3/4 inch plywood, and they can present somewhat of a blight on the property. They secure the house or the structure so that creates, that eliminates the public safety hazard to it, but it doesn't look as great. Just on this picture right here, we have, this is a boarded up house in a neighborhood, and you can see the wood there gets tagged up with graffiti. What the recommendation is to change that to a polycarbonate material after 90 days. So we would only allow boards up for 90 days. After 90 days, you'd have to change it to a polycarbonate material. This is the same structure once we've removed the wood and put the polycarbonate material up there. And if you drive down the street, you really can't tell that house is vacant at all. That was the first recommendation. The second recommendation was to post a notification on the property that City of Phoenix is working on it. Now we post after the property is cleaned up, and we're going to stop doing that. The committee recommended to stop doing that and maybe draw attention to the property. But we will post it once we start working on it and during the abatement. Once it's done, then we'll remove the sign. And then the third recommendation was to create a pilot program to address unpaid blight liens. Again, there's the picture of the property. And then with that, we open it for discussion to the panel on a blight lien program.
I want to echo the thanks offered earlier to our committee members. We had a lot of people with really impressive expertise who were able to offer their time to their city, some of the top minds in our city, and I appreciate your attention. This is an issue that seems to predominantly affect our lower income areas, and I think they appreciate that so many great minds were willing to step in and say we want all of our neighborhoods to look good, and that we want to do a better job making sure the work we are already doing is out in the community, so that when we do have a home that was burnt and is sitting vacant, that people are aware that we are following and respecting private property rights and trying to work with the homeowner before we began abatement. But so many people in the community were saying, are you doing anything? Do you know something is wrong here? And so now we will have signs while that process is ongoing, and perhaps those signs will inspire one neighbor to get in touch with the homeowner and help us speed along. I'm also hopeful that our pilot in this area will help us get homes back out onto the market, find people who will come in, invest those homes, so that it'll be a win for our city budget and for safer communities, because this is something that is a problem throughout our community, but the 3 districts we represent have a particularly high concentration of open vacant properties. So glad that the mayor was able to support this subcommittee's work and create this great citizens committee, and that we were able to find some solutions that I think will make a difference for communities that are in need of help from the city. So thank you to the many people who spent their late nights helping us on this particular item. Many people are in the audience from the committee, and I would welcome them if you wanted to provide any insight on any of the recommendations to come up and fill out a card when you are done. But we do want to recognize our co-chairman and all the members of the committee for their insights and expertise.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I would also like to recognize Lena Cruz. She kind of coordinated all the activities, made all the arrangements, reserved the facility, and brought refreshments for everybody there. She did an outstanding job coordinating communication with the committee members.
Absolutely.
Madam Chair, we're prepared to come back next month, if with the support of this subcommittee, to further delve into the details of that 3rd recommendation, in particular about what it would entail to create a foreclosure pilot program. Some of the recommendations around that from the task force or the subcommittee, ad hoc committee, included looking at risk, the ability to have a cost recovery model. This has really opened our eyes to a lot more data than we've ever looked at before as we look at our blight liens and recovery. And we're finding out lots of good information that we're prepared to present to the subcommittee next month as it pertains to that recommendation. And additionally, just while we have the time, you mentioned a lot of the improvements that we've noted of our open vacants out in the property, in the communities, which are our most vulnerable for health and safety type issues. So we encourage any listeners out there to call 534-4444 to go to phoenix.gov to report any blighted structures that it could be a hazard to their community.
Wonderful. And we did speak through the committee and offline about making sure we improve communication between the fire department and neighborhood services when we do have a fire at a property which we suspect is vacant. So I don't know if there's anything to add to that, but that was something the community very much wanted to make sure we prioritized.
Chairwoman, we have communication with the fire department on a regular basis. We had a system set up in place. It lagged just a little bit because of some of the individuals that were communicating back and forth, but we've reinstated that back with the fire department. So we get notification once a fire occurs on a residential property.
Perfect, thank you. And we hear Councilman Nowakowski tested the polycarbonate material for us, went out with a hammer, and would welcome any other of my colleagues who need to do their own research on the polycarbonate material to do the same. Any questions, or shall we? Wonderful. Well, thank you again to our subcommittee and to our staff for a lot of hard work on this process.